Yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of conflicts or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Welcome. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been rocking with your girl for a minute, welcome back. Yeah, I had to jump on here just for a few minutes. I just got off of a hearing. Got beat down a little bit, but you know, you win some, you lose some. And so I went over to check on the Ernest Williams, like to look on the docket, right? And so many of you guys know I put it in my membership, but then I know that people like, I think Bougie talked about it as well. But Shawn Hoover, who is the attorney for Ernest Williams, he filed a leave of absence. So we were like, shucks. Now we got to wait, later on, he's going to have a fit. We can't wait for those phone calls. So we were talking about that in the membership. We were kind of, going back and forth. I didn't do a video, but we were talking on the post. And so one of the problems that people were confused about was how the leave of absence was just, let me see if this is the one. So this was the original leave of absence. Yeah, I'm hopping right into it. You know what I'm saying? So the leave of absence got Shawn's name on it, right? But then everything on it has like Shawn Hoover and respectfully notifies all the judges before whom she has cases pending, all affected clerks of court, and all opposing counsel that she will be on leave pursuant to. So everybody was confused, like, what is all that? Now, I was more impressed with all the cases, okay? I feel like Shawn Hoover needs a raise, all right? I'm going to advocate for him to get a raise because these cases are no joke. Then the case that he's on, this State v. Jamil Tompkins, it's no joke either. Like, I looked at that indictment and it's like he out here doing work. But I looked at all these cases, I was like, yeah, it couldn't be me. I couldn't be doing all these cases. But as you see, that's Ernest Williams right there. But then it was signed by a woman as well. So folks was confused, like, was he like, what's up with, huh? Like, what? And they were asking me. And my explanation was I felt like it was a bad cut and paste. I was like, I think it's just a bad cut and paste. But when you looked at it, really, Shawn's name was at the top and that was it. So people were all confused. Well, I think we know that it really was a bad cut and paste. How do we know? Because Shawn has filed an amended Mr. Hoover. I'm talking about him like he's my homeboy. He has filed an amended notice of leave just a few minutes ago. It's 11:43 a.m. Y'all see on March 28th. That's how much your girl be on it. And it has now comes Shawn Hoover and respectfully files an amended notification to all judges before whom he has cases pending, all affected clerks of court, and all opposing counsel that he will be on leave pursuant to the Uniform State Court Rule 16.1 and respectfully files this notice to leave of absence from the Superior Court and shows the court the following. Petitioner requests a leave of absence for all cases currently pending in Fulton County Superior Court assigned to him and those to which he will be assigned between the dates of filing and request for leave of absence. So he's starting a co-defendant case with multi-co-defendants, 118 count indictment, State v. Jamil Tompkins. And like I said, that's actually a gang case, right? And that's what I was told by people that knew what Shawn Hoover did, and his specialty is gang. So he is doing like difficult. This whole Ernest Williams thing is probably like a little gnat, like because it's white collar. Because he does these types of cases. So then he has his listings again of his quadrillion cases. Again, I think you need a raise, Shawn. And then he has his signature. So yes, this was meant for him. This was not meant for, some people thought maybe it was his co-counsel. Another question people ask me is, well, why doesn't the co-counsel just go ahead and do everything? Well, your co-counsel is just that. Usually you're just second chair. Your lead counsel, like for instance, when you have certain status conferences or certain definitive dates, like a final plea or something like that, oftentimes judges request the lead counsel, i.e. the person who will be trying your case. So yes, you can send your co-counsel or even someone to fill in. I fill in all the time for cases. You can send them in to cover certain things that are like if you know the calendar and you're doing calendar dates or something for them and they're in another courtroom, yeah. But if you have a person, and let's just put ourselves in the shoes of a defendant for now. If you have an individual who has been running your case and knows your case backwards and forwards, would you really want a substitute to come in and just start, learning your case of somebody that has been with your case all of this time? Probably not. All right. So if you are also in my membership, I also notated yesterday when it was changed, the court has changed the date. He had a final plea date for June, and now it has been moved up to April, which may be because of what has been filed by Mr. Hoover. Okay. So I hope this answers your questions for all of you guys that was like, huh? And all confused, because that I figured it was just a bad cut and paste, but I think him amending it confirms that it was just a very tacky, horrible, cut and paste that had happened at that time. So y'all got any questions? Let me see what y'all talking about. Hey, really be good to see you, sis. One thing about Shawn Hoover and Sonya, they're gonna watch these bloggers and correct. Why did I think that too? I was like, they really were watching these videos of people. Well, again, I talked about it in my membership. I haven't done a video. This is my first video on it. They really corrected it. He probably wouldn't have even caught it but for us talking about it and being confused, like, huh? Did they mean to put his name on there, or was the woman's name supposed to be on there, or was it, people were just confused? I figured it was just a bad cut and paste. But yeah. With the final plea being moved up, do you think he's likely to take a plea, or there will still be a trial later in the year? So what will happen is this will be the final. What'll happen is they'll probably give a trial date. And again, the trial date is going to be after, obviously, Hoover gets done with this big trial that he's going to do. Now, this is a different county that he's doing this trial in. It's a whole different county. Let me pull. I was just looking at this case too. Let me pull this out right quick. It's a different county to where it's in, but Jamil Tompkins. And there's an estimate on how long the trial is going to be. So hopefully it's not a YSL situation. But it's in Lawrence County. So I'm going to pull up this indictment real quick. But so they'll probably do it sometime after the trial will be sometime after this. So this is the indictment for the case that they're talking about. It's a lot going on here. It's 114 counts. And let's just do the intro. The intro, so we'll know the basics of that trial that he has to try. The enterprise, money, power, loyalty seeks to obtain exactly what its name implies: money, power, and unwavering loyalty from its associates. Money, power, loyalty does not seek these three goals through legitimate means. Rather, it does so through, among other things, unaliving people, aggravated assault, burglary, robbery, theft, possession of controlled substances, dealing controlled substances, and false statements and writings. The defendants charged in this indictment are associates of money, power, loyalty, and they knowingly and willfully joined a conspiracy to unlawfully affect the objectives of money, power, loyalty, which contained a common plan and purpose to commit two or more acts of racketeering activity in Lawrence County, Georgia, and elsewhere in the state of Georgia. So listen, Mr. Hoover got his hands full, okay? I know. We all want to get to this Ernest Williams, and I'm sure he wants to get this over with too. But this is the type of stuff that Mr. Hoover is doing. You know what I'm saying? So, at all times relevant to this count of the indictment, the defendants, as well as other unindicted co-conspirators, known and unknown to the grand jury, unlawfully conspired and endeavored to conduct and participate in criminal enterprise, money, power, and loyalty in Lawrence County. And then they have all of the different folks. They say it's unindicted people as well. Yeah, so they're the MPL, I guess is what they call themselves. So yeah, he says, listen, I got other things to do. And so yeah, so they moved it up to April. So similar to if you guys watch what happened with Erica King, if he chooses, first of all, there has to be an offer to a plea, offer less than or whatever for him to plea agreed upon. Or like when you look at Erica, she pled guilty to everything. It was just there was an agreement on the punishment. And the court could have accepted it or not accepted. And if you recall, the court did not accept the first agreement until they constructed something that gave her a little bit more accountability, because she was just gonna, as long as she ain't do nothing for the next whatever amount of years, she was gonna be good. She wasn't gonna have to report, she wasn't gonna have to pay anything. Like, she had a sweetheart deal. And then the judge was like, absolutely not. And so they came up with a deal where she's actually on probation and she has some restrictions. So, but if you look, she pled to everything. Like, they didn't drop any counts. So pleas can be constructed in different ways. So it can be where maybe there's an agreement that he only gonna do so much time because he's been in there so much. It could be a plea where they drop some of the charges, he pleaded other charges, and then they have an agreement on the consequence. Or it could be, what if he just go in there and be like, I give up, guilty, and don't even know what's gonna happen? Because remember, like what Young Thug did, you can say you're guilty and basically plead guilty to it and leave it up to the judge to do the sentencing of it and just leave and see what the judge has to say. So, or he can say, I'm going to trial. I don't believe I'm a bigamist. I don't believe I'm a thief. I don't have this RICO. It's all a farce, just like YSL. I think that they're overutilizing this good RICO statute, and I was just a product of being married to someone who is high profile, who can bring more spotlight on Madam DA, who likes to have spotlights on her, And speaking of Madam DA, did you guys see the photographs of her and the what is that guy's name? The guy that was the special counsel that caused all this rigmarole in the Trump case, that they were like on vacation. They have like pictures and videos going around Twitter, going around X. But I mean, she might as well still see him. Why not? She might as well still date him. Shoot, she done went through all of this. At least get something out the deal. But anyway, I digressed. So yes, that can happen on that day, or it can be he's not going to take a deal, and then he can go ahead and get a date. So we'll know a trial date. But what we know is it probably won't happen until maybe 2026 because of the schedule of Mr. Hoover. So there's that. Nathan. Yeah, Nathan. You said stop helping him. What I do? I ain't even say nothing. I'm just explaining. Y'all always think I'm trying to help somebody. I'm just trying to explain it, Patty. Stop being petty. I'm just trying to explain it to the people that are asking me questions. That's all I'm doing. Will the ruling on the suppression of evidence from the truck be announced at the final plea deal? That is a great question, Georgia Peach, and I'm glad you brought that up. If I were Mr. Hoover, and this is not giving no information because I'm sure he knows, it wouldn't make sense to agree to a plea unless you have that answer, right? Because if the judge is inclined to suppress some things that are related to some of the alleged indictment, that puts him in a better position. Because now you don't have how many counts, 52, 42, 32, whatever it is. I don't remember at this point. And it gets whittled down to 5 or 6, then you're in a better position. And he's been in there for 2 years. So I wouldn't entertain any type of anything until the judge makes his decision, unless that becomes leverage for the prosecutor to offer something because they think they might not win or something. So it may put them in a better position. So yeah, that's the point of filing those motions beforehand, to see what you have to really deal with if it comes to trial. So I would surmise yes, that perhaps the judge is going to have a decision before that April date. And then what is interesting too is the state has filed a motion to dismiss. And so we don't have a response on that either. So on the flip side, maybe the state doesn't even want to offer anything until or unless the court rules on whether they'll dismiss the whole motion to suppress, because they filed a motion to dismiss it. So yes, I believe there's unfinished business that should be handled before you even think about pleading at all. You know what? I'm not doing this. Don't be so sure that he knows. He takes us. You know what? Again, Mr. Hoover, I get it. Y'all be turning like the defense attorneys into the client, like they one and the same. Okay, we may represent him, but this man does have experience, and I'm showing you. That's why I showed you the indictment, to show you that he does do complicated cases. He doesn't just do, like, this is kind of minor for him. When I looked at the cases that he has, even though it's lengthy, I mean, it's financial crimes, and they have him on gang cases and RICOs when it comes to that. Now, they probably put him on it because they charged Nesto with the RICO. But for the most part, this is probably one of his cases that kind of just, that was a long time Melody waited on her funds or car back so he can sit. You know what? Sonya's boots. Hoover is that. Toy is so dope said Hoover is not listening to Sonya. That's why Nesto doesn't say anything on the phone calls anymore. I don't think he is. And I think, of course, if she says something, he ain't just like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I mean, he's probably like hearing her, but he's not necessarily listening to her. I think he's making his own calls. Because if he had done everything she wanted him to do, I think he would be looking kind of like, seriously, Hoover, seriously. So no, I don't think that he's listening to everything. And then plus the fact that she got subpoenaed with the stuff, it breaks. The privilege is not really with your privilege, is with your client. So if you decide to start letting Tom, Dick, and Harry and Sonia's come and talk and give information and have conversations, if Sonia got on the stand, I would ask her, did you have a conversation with Mr. Hoover? What was that about? Because he's not her attorney. So I think he knows the implications of it, and he's not going to, he's a smart guy. He knows how to handle it. He knows how to handle his case. I get it. Y'all just don't like the man by default. He didn't even do anything to y'all. Stop being so mean to him. It's being said that Erica does not have to testify against Nesto. Is that true, or does she have to testify against him as part of her deal? So, if the state calls her, yes, she has to testify. That was a part of her agreement. However, that does not mean the state will call her. So those are two different situations. Now, like I said, if the state puts her on the list and says, we're subpoenaing her and she's going to testify, she has to show up. But the state may not even use Erica. They have live people that are allegedly going to testify to what they're alleging happened to them. They have a Shirley Strawberry who can say, oh yeah, I was married. They already put in the motion to dismiss what's going to be allegedly part of her testimony, that she married him. She would have never married him if she knew he was married. She was under the impression that he was not married, that he was divorced. I guess he allegedly got that truck without her knowing about it and all of that. So we know partly of what's going to testify. I wouldn't have Erica sitting up on that stand. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me tell you, me personally, unless it was the last resort, because she does have a history herself. We were able to dig up stuff that had to do with Erica. She's like, what that means a jury has to, it's about credibility. Like if you were a juror and you saw Erica up there and you know that she's went so far as to impersonate a lawyer without thinking about it twice. I mean, got the chat GPT to do these professional letters. She got letterheads. She got phone numbers. That means you done set up a phone number and everything to be contacted. You got on Zoom in actual court hearings, knowing you are not a licensed attorney. Do y'all think as a juror you would believe everything coming out of her mouth? I'm just saying. What y'all think? Would y'all like? So me personally, I ain't the state. But I'm just saying, I mean, unless I had to, she would not be at the top of my list. I'm just saying. So, but again, if she's called to testify, she has to. But I think she gave them enough information, probably that led them to find more information. That's probably what happened. And so she may have assisted them in ways that we don't know. Joy says she was a pro. I don't think it was all Nesto's plans. No. But I don't believe that it was all his plans. But I don't believe when you listen to, in my opinion, when you listen to those calls, I think him trying to just solely put it on her and say, I didn't even know. It's too many times that she's acted as an attorney And I guess she's used other names for you to know. You know her name. Like if you don't know anything, you know that lady's name. So she didn't introduce herself as that attorney, as April Holloway. When you met her, her name was not April. So if she got on a Zoom and said her name was April Holloway, how do you, when you've been calling her Erica, Queen of the South, or whatever you've been calling her for the last whatever amount of years? That doesn't make any sense. So we shall see, though. No, ma'am, they both were in it together. They was late with my notification. Well, I'm just glad you eventually got a notification. You can go back to the beginning. We didn't talk about much. Why does IS say she has the T.O. Nestos case? She has no more than what the documents say. Oh, I don't know. She don't even come down my timeline as a recommendation. So I don't know nothing going on with her at all. June's poetry said bigamy in California might not even get attention. Can't remember the amount of the alleged theft, but it didn't seem like 1 million. Well, bigamy in probably no state gets a whole lot of attention, I think. But when you're doing a RICO, you throwing everything up against the wall as overt acts. So that may be a part of it. I think there are, in a lot of states, adultery is still a crime. You know how many Negroes and ninjas to be in jail right now? So I'm just saying. And fornication and shacking up, all of that is still on the books. Like in a lot of states, they just haven't used them in a long time. And so there's like an unwritten rule when you haven't used it in a long time, you don't really even though it hasn't been repealed. So a lot of courts don't use it, but sometimes every now and then they want to dust off that old statue and they'll get you with it. So, hey Pam, watching from Toronto. Hey Canada, y'all right across the way. Y'all are hot. Canada's a hop, skip, and a jump from me. I used to go to Canada all the time just for fun. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. You know what, Joy? I wonder if Hoover has told Sonya something that has them feeling confident that he's getting off. We're gonna see. At least we'll know in April. We're going to know. You guys mark your calendars. It's the end of April, April 30th, I believe. We're going to see if there was an offer, if he's going to take a plea, or if he say he's taking this thing to trial. He ain't pleading to nothing. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think he should try to come to some deal? Because not even, there are some people who take pleas for the certainty and they still maintain they didn't do it, in public realms. They'll say they really didn't do it. But of course, you have to typically, unless you take an Alford plea, typically you have to give a factual basis as to what you plan to. And they do it very thorough in Georgia. They have like the prosecutor read it up on, they ask questions and they put it on the record, and it's a long process because in covering Nesto's case, I've watched a lot of how the processes go. So I think if he's offered time where he only got to do like another year or something, that might be worth considering. What you think? But I don't know, because he's facing some good time, and he's a habitual. But he's older now, You said Nesto has nothing to lose now. He's gonna bet on trial. If he still had money in his businesses and his wife, maybe he'll take the plea. That's a fair perspective. You said basically he ain't got nothing to lose. Roll the dice. If he get out right now, he don't even know where he gonna go. Huh? Don't have a wife. He doesn't have his businesses. He doesn't have any money. So you acting like Cobb County at least let him have a roof over his head. That's how you sounding, Joy. Like you like at least right now he know he got 3 square meals. And my sister said, Nesto, have your people hit the like button. Y'all stop stressing my sister out. Georgia said, believe it or not, Cobb County still has a law that forbids any other position than missionary when having relations. I believe it. You be like, people don't understand that the country, the United States of America, was built on Christianity. So a lot of stuff, it was, quote, morals, basically. So a lot of the laws are centered around keeping a moralistic society. So that type of stuff, they would say a lot of the different activities that people do are illegal. So that wouldn't shock me. I haven't seen that in Michigan, but that wouldn't shock me. He said, I mean, the man gets free video calls. He got it, man. I can't stand you, sis. I can't stand you. Yes, Auntie, keep me entertained during work. Thanks. All right, yellow boy, smooth. I think he would take it if there's a minimal years and they would already be counting the time he's been in jail, but he has those other charges looming. Well, so I think, like, what is it, Douglas County? It was a couple of other counties that they said that he had warrants, but they don't seem like major cases or whatnot. They seem like something kind of minor. But if he pleads in this one, then they can use that plea for whatever cases that he has as well. That will be a part of, how he's a habitual and all of that. But the alleged, the warrants they have in California, they said they're not coming to get him. They like, he cool, y'all got it over there in Georgia, but we're not using our resources to come get this guy. Now, he's alleging on the phone calls that I guess did he say it was the wrong person or it was already handled or something? I don't know, but he's had some explanation on one of those phone calls related to the California cases, but they're not coming to get him anyway. So there's that. 3 hots in the cat. Thais. Hey, Thais. I think the SA charges will be dropped. He hasn't even been indicted yet after all this time. You know what, the woman I agree with that. I think I told you that I think that they are, one of the things they are waiting on is to see if the motion to suppress sticks, because to me, that has more of an implication for those types of, for the pictures, right? The picture case. Now, the other case with the girl that's saying that it was, actual SA, I don't know. From my understanding, from what people that have done their research on her, she's not even like in town. So is she somebody that they're going to be able to get that's willing to testify? Does she even want to testify? Does she want to be involved? Maybe she's seen how people have brought up her family. They pulled up her dad, her mom, her grandma. Maybe she, we don't know how that's affecting that. But I agree, they have not indicted them yet. When it comes to the pictures, we know they dropped it and then they refiled it a couple of months later. And the pictures would be connected to the vehicle. And the vehicle, we don't know how the judge is going to rule. But how the judge seemed as if he was going to rule, it felt like he was going to rule in favor of the defense. And I think that may have been one of the reasons that Wooten went back to the books and filed that motion to dismiss. Like, hold on. He don't have an expectation of privacy at all, because that truck was procured through fraud. Because basically, Shirley This is what he's alleging. Because Shirley, I guess, gave some information or led the state to believe that when he bought that truck, she didn't give him permission to buy it. So then you got the fraud of the marriage, where probably the only reason why she wouldn't have reported it because it was her husband. And then they're saying the fraud of getting the truck. So you don't have an expectation of privacy in the truck that you weren't supposed to have in the first place, which is a very legit argument. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see. We'll have to see how the judge rules on that. Dance Yogic said YSL got Nesto wanting to go with his innocence all the way. Yep. I do think that Fonnie Willis being in the news the way that she is and hearing the way Sonia has talked about it, everyone thinks that's going to be them. So I think because the way YSL turned out, and also from my understanding, I believe there was a defendant in the YSL that Hoover may have represented or something at one point. And something happened with that. I have to look into it. I can't remember. But yeah, I think the YSL got folks feeling a lot of confidence because of how they feel like basically that was an exposure to how Fulton County be wrongfully charging people. And see, the problem with the YSL is what they should have done is they shouldn't have tried to make it a RICO. If they had certain information on different people, they should have just charged them separately. But they want to make this big old national media circus. And so now you got the media helping to scrutinize. Then you got attorneys. This is like one of the biggest trials of their life, and it's televised. So now they're going to put on their A game, their A plus game. And so they were finding every little nook and cranny and mistake and whatever that you could. And then every other day it was motions for a new trial, motion for a mistrial. I mean, you had a lot that was going on. It was a lot going on. And I think just like with Fonnie Willis with the Trump situation, we see how that's going. So it's giving people a level of security. I do agree with that. I think it gives people a level of security that they be flubbing up stuff. And so that's what's going to happen with my case, but I don't like him, but I would think the same thing. That's from Money Honey. She says she'll go for it. You'll go all the way, Money Honey, too? Based on his history, he can't take that third strike like that. He's going to trial on the RICO. What if they drop the RICO? Because remember, they did the RICO and they made all the charges over acts, but then he was filed, I guess, indicted separately too for each case. So what if they drop the RICO and then he just got to go in on all these alleged financial crimes and the bigamy? You think that'll work for you? Or if they take away the habitual, that could be a part of a plea agreement too, that you take away the habitual. I don't know. Evidence diminishing, how are witnesses holding up? That's a good question. When is the last time you've talked to? I'm sure they have an investigator, so that investigator has the right to try to interview some of these people and see what their testimonies are so they can be better prepared. Thank you so much for supporting Gwendella J. Did you hit that like button, sis? Did you hit the like button? And that's how Cobb County became the county that's the most strict here legally. So you got to be saved and sanctified to live in Cobb County, huh? They said they don't want none of that heathen, none of that backing it up and breaking it down, no twerking. You don't want none of that. If it ain't missionary, we don't want it in our county. But my question is, how would they know that you only doing it missionary? How Georgia Peach? How do you monitor that? Huh? I mean, are people doing it outside in the parks? Like, how do you monitor? how someone is having relations. I don't, I don't. Just, it's a legitimate question. How would you monitor if you know which way I did what? Like, how do you know if I'm touching my toes? Like, how do you know that? I'm just asking. I don't know, Pam. I just feel strongly that his back is up against the wall and he has to go to trial or else. Okay, Dance Yogic, that's fair. Do you think had YouTube not gotten involved, he would have been out by now? Would he have had better chances? So, call me darling. Do I think YouTube aided and abetting? That's what you're saying. Aided and abetted. What I think, because if you guys look at it, he hasn't even attempted to get bond. I think he could have been out by now because every 90 days you have the right to request bond. I don't think he even has one on this indictment at all for this. So I don't know if that's even been entertained at all or even if they allow it. But I haven't heard anything about the indictment. But he does have one on, I think it's the pictures, but he hasn't even went back to get that lower. And that was a long time. It's been what, a year or something? Yeah, about a year. Yeah, about a year. So that probably would have been because every time you go, they usually lower it. And then on the SA charge, I don't think he has a bond. So it was denied one time. And then that was about a year ago. And they haven't been back since. So it feels like they just gave up. They did the Diddy and was like, forget it. I just wave the white flag and go to trial because he hasn't even attempted. So no, I'm not going to take credit for him still being in jail because he hasn't been trying to get out either. No. Mm-mm. Not the kids. Oh, that would be so traumatizing. The kids are like, yes, my mommy, she was standing up. They have a swing in the room. Do they watch you when you go to certain stores? They probably don't even have those stores in Cobb County then. So you can't go get no special devices or nothing. Thank you for becoming a member, Dance Yogic. I appreciate you. You said, I understand the 4-1- okay. Like, I get that. But wouldn't you want to have the choice just in case? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you didn't you just want the option even if you can't afford it? You see the lady that left her kids over here in Michigan for like 2-3 years allegedly. Her lawyer still going to back to get her bond on all her stuff, and then came back after the judge gave her some astronomical bond, $250 million or something crazy. And then she went back and got a $50,000 bond. Then she got the welfare fraud, and I think the welfare fraud they gave her like $29,000. We know she probably can't afford that. She has the court appointed. And nobody's gonna want to put their name in Michigan. They probably don't want to put no name on the bond and say that they're the ones securing it. But it's the point of you do have a bond. That's all. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that, Kathy. He has no money, and Sonya is the reason why he's still in there running her mouth. Y'all gonna blame Sonya for everything. Sonya was saying a lot of things that he wanted to hear. I think that, Nesto wouldn't want to hear my mouth because I'm going to give you the good and the bad. Like, I did that early on where I told you guys when he had it. Remember when he was in there and he hadn't even been there for, like, asked for bond before some of these other charges came? I was like, why doesn't he have bond yet? Every 90 days, the way the law is after 90 days of him being in there, he's entitled to go and at least seek a bond, and you have to have a reason to totally deny it. So the law is what it is. So I think that Sonia was just a person that told him what he wanted to hear. She worked in a law firm. She believes that her boo is innocent. And so, because of that, she was telling him everything that leaned towards innocence. So, you don't know that lady. You didn't know what she was going to do. That's on her. She the one that did all of this stuff. It don't make no sense. Like, she was saying that like she knew Erica and she was there. So she was telling him everything he wanted to hear instead of necessarily the reality that he should have heard. And then you go from there. You go from there and you figure out how to navigate. Does he have some points good on his side? He got some points, but he got some bad points too. And he needs to know both. And I feel like just like a friend, you don't let your friends going out there and they look tacky. You tell them you look tacky. And I think sometimes people just want to hear what they want to hear. And he needs reassurance. I think that she still believes him and believes in him because at this point, she's his consistency. She has definitely been consistent. We have to give her that. She knows all of this stuff is on YouTube. She knows we're going to see the videos, visits. She knows we're going to hear the phone calls, and she still does them. So y'all not going to give her no props for being loyal? The lady's loyal. It's probably 1,000 dudes up in Cobb County that wish they could have a Sonia. I'm just saying. Thank you, Patrina, for gifting a membership. I appreciate that. Jay Blake said, didn't want to hear you're out when you're out. I mean, and honestly, clients don't want to hear it. And I get cussed out a lot by clients because of it. But regardless to what it is, I'm going to tell you your weak points and I'm going to tell you your strong points. That don't mean I'm not going to fight for you. I'm just letting you know this is what your weak point is and this is what we got to focus on. And then, but when you stay in la-la land, see, that's, to me, that's a prosecutor's mind, right? This is how people get wrongfully convicted. You have a premise or you have a conclusory like allegation, just like you really don't have facts to match it, but you've made a conclusion and you go with that by any means necessary and you try to fade out or try to ignore any other facts that goes against what you believe it is. That will screw you up. And that has screwed a lot of people up because you have prosecutors who say you're the prime suspect, you did it. And so any other information that may go against that, they don't even try to present. That's why you have people that prosecutors that get accused of not turning over exculpatory or favorable evidence because they'll try to hide it. Because their whole thing is they want everybody to focus on the bad because they have tunnel vision. That's a dangerous place to be. I think it's best for you to be a good attorney. You need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's in all contexts, even with friends and family. They need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's why I said I don't represent friends and family because I may get tunnel vision. Like, I know them. I grew up with them. They ain't did nothing they said they did. And I may not know them like I think I do. So I get somebody else to represent them. So they can be more neutral and be able to say the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think it benefits him more to know that. And I'm sure his attorneys tell him what's up, and what's best for him. He can choose to take the advice or not. At the end of the day, it's up to him. Yes. Like Adrian Love during the YSL trial. The YSL trial is a prime example. She was doing things like turning over stuff at the last minute, not turning over certain discovery. The judge will rule against her on certain evidence, and she would accidentally make sure that it's in trial. It ends up getting in somehow. Like she put something, I think it was on her slide, and the judge had ruled that information couldn't go into the trial, and she had it on the slide. And you had the defense attorneys were able to catch that. They caught it. That's the only reason why YSL went the way it did, because you had all those seasoned defense attorneys that were on every move, and they seen how they were moving, And so they were scrutinizing everything that they did. So yes, and that's what causes people to get wrongfully convicted. If you think you have a case that you could beat a client on, then do it fair and square. Absolutely no one in Nesto's corner was giving him the bad and the ugly. What's going on? Nobody told me nothing. That's some lock hair and things. Yeah, we just on here chit-chatting about Nesto and them. You have to go to the beginning to see what the real live was about, because it was only supposed to be a few minutes, which you know how we get to talking and yabbing our mouths. And to get just the latest update on the docket on Nesto. Yeah, I think Dre was, but then when he realized that the cars were coming out and it made him look like, even though he was being a good friend, it made him look like he didn't believe him. And that's how he's looking at it. When people have questions and they challenge him, they made it as if they don't believe you. That's not what that means. Like, I got questions. You say, so I'm just supposed to believe everything coming out of your mouth? And I'm not supposed to ask you questions about things that don't seem legit? That's not, I think Dre was a real friend. I think he was a real friend for questioning what he wanted to question. Thinking of Dre.
And another thing you notice, the first thing they say, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. That's what it's all about. After they get them dogging you out, before they dog you out, that's the first thing they say. If you like this video, make sure you hit.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Marvin Sapp. Okay. I've had this question in my membership, and I was going to think about doing a video this weekend in the membership on it, because, you know, it don't really technically have anything to do with the law. But if y'all want to chit chat, because we're on here. The Marvin Sapp, for those of you that don't know, he is a gospel artist. He's also a pastor. And there was a video viral clip that went around of which he basically told the folks, close the door. I think people heard lock the door, but he said, close the door. Don't let anybody out, because he was trying to collect offerings. The problem that Marvin Sapp is going to have, what you guys see is having that he's having right now, because that was like a year-old clip. That wasn't even recent. Is that this is not the church. This is not the generation of our grandmothers, of which pastors can basically manipulate and basically make you feel that you have to give every damn dime in your pocket in order to make it into the kingdom, or in order to be in right standing with God, or to make, and let me tell y'all, they're not on here. My Marvin Sapp story. Did I tell y'all my Marvin Sapp story? Let me see if y'all, because he laughs every time I talk about this. See, I get triggered by Marvin Sapp because I too gave some money one time to Marvin Sapp. Let me see. So, listen, let me tell y'all my story. My name is Pam, and I too gave Marvin Sapp money. So, this was probably hold on. This was probably like 15 years ago, right? So I used to go to this church here every now and then called Citadel of Praise in Detroit. Pastor Ellis. A lot of people know the Pastor Ellis at Greater Grace over there at Paul. It's like, you know, but his brother has a church. And so it was called Citadel. So one Sunday I was there minding my little business. And next thing you know, Marvin Sapp came. So apparently Marvin Sapp and the pastor are like friends or whatever. So Marvin Sapp was saying, it wasn't too far, maybe too long after maybe his wife had passed away or something. not too many years after that, because he was saying he actually flew into Citadel on Sunday, like flew to the church on Sunday, and he had taken his kids to Disney World. So he was saying that he flew in to preach, and then he was going to fly back to Disney World to be with his kids. So he got up there and he starts talking about how he's just been so blessed because he's a tither. And so he said, you know, when I started tithing, I really didn't have much. He said, then because of my, you know, my tithing and my obedience, I've got businesses. So he started naming, he does have a, you know, he's from Michigan. So he does have, like, he had the church here in Grand Rapids. He has like properties. He owns a hair salon. And he's like saying all of the businesses he has. And then he says, so now I tithe 50%. So he was like, basically, I guess the premise was, if you want to be financially blessed or whatnot, then you need to give. So he was like, he's standing up there and he was like, I need 50 people to give $32, and I need you to come quickly. Come quickly, because I got a word from the Lord. And if you want to get this blessing, I need 50 people, whatever number of people, to get $32. So it went so fast that I just went in my purse. I'm like, let me see if I got. I seen people getting up. I'm like, shoot, I'm trying to be in this number. So I grabbed my little, you know, grab my money, get my $32, walk up there, gave them. It's probably the whole church gave that $32. People was good up there trying to pick their little coins and stuff out the sandwich bags, trying to come up with this $32. So I walked back to my seat. I promise y'all, before I sat down, I felt like I got. That's the crazy part. It was before I even sat down in that seat again. I knew, like, I felt like I got for my $32. That's how I was feeling. And from that point on, it was like a wake-up call of how you can easily get mesmerized in these stories, that you can be how this person has all of this money, or this person has all of this, you know, these businesses and assets and all of that, and equate it to, oh, you gave 10%, or you gave this special seed and you sold this special seed at this time, and this is the reason why. Now, I do believe in sowing and reaping. That is a principle biblically, and I do believe in sowing and reaping. What I don't believe in is manipulation to get it. I don't believe in nobody telling me that they can control what I do with my money when it's time, because the same spirit that speaks to you can speak to me too. It's been times where I gave money and like Dad would tell you, he used to look at me like I was crazy, because I'm always giving. That's just what I do. And the thing about me, and this is not, I don't give for this purpose, but when I give, I usually know it's a God thing, because I promise you within a week, I'll have all my money back and some, most of the time. So I do believe in sowing and I do believe in reaping. So I'm not saying that. My problem is when you have people that don't have it and they feel like they have to give, or it's going to be some type of consequence when you're going to leave out of church and get on your private jet and you're going to fly back. Or a lot of these, and I'm not saying this is his situation, but a lot of these pastors and stuff, or even artists, like people that preach, they have an arrangement on offerings sometimes. So it's like my honorarium is whatever thousands of dollars that your honorarium, or we'll do a 60-40 split. You know what I'm saying? So they have stake in these offerings sometimes. I'm not saying that Marvin Sapp did, because that was supposed to be some type of a conference. But I'm saying, just generally speaking, you have these visiting pastors that come in, especially pastors with names on it. They have a stake in that offering. So if the more you raise, the more they get. And I think that for people to believe that your blessing is only going to come by giving your last $20, that is not sound doctrine and it's not biblical. Now, I seen his response about people that ain't in the church. This is protocol. You always lock the doors because it's a security thing. I don't necessarily believe that because I've walked out and used the bathroom several times during offering. All right. And a lot of people do it online, as he said. People now, everybody has the Giverfly. Everyone has, we got Zelle, we got a lot of people are doing their stuff online. They ain't even doing it in the like the old school walking up there. Now what's crazy, y'all? Before Marvin Sapp got up on that day, there was another pastor, a bishop, that was up, and he had just said something about I heard the Spirit tell me that $800 is what needs to be sold for new beginnings. So how many people got $800? Now, this is before Marvin Sapp got up. So apparently they was doing this all through the service. I'm not doing that no more. That's back in the day. That's how Black people, specifically, I'm saying Black people, they might do it in the white church, but I'm not familiar with that. But I think it was a mechanism of control. And you had a lot of women that were giving a Social Security checks. They was giving a rent. They was giving a last dollar. And they didn't have. How are you supposed to give as a cheerful giver, but you know you giving your money and your landlord about to be knocking on the door to try to get their rent and you don't have it? That's like contrary to scripture. So no, I don't believe it. I don't his explanation to me, because I've been there. Like I said, I know how it feels because of how he did it and how you feel like you're obligated and you need to do it because he said it. And what your blessing may flow from that. And then the whole close the doors. I don't know who you talking to. Now y'all getting too, now you getting controlling and dominating with it and all of that. No, he didn't lock the doors, but the ushers are there. And the ushers probably would tell people if they come, because he basically gave instructions of keeping the door closed, which means nobody out. So if somebody comes to the door, the ushers probably would have told them to wait, because that's what ushers do during prayer time. Typically, the ushers will tell you got to wait. Like if people are outside of the doors and they're trying to come into the sanctuary and it's time to pray, they usually don't let them in until after prayer. So there are certain times where, they do close the doors. So that's probably what would have happened. So people probably did feel like they couldn't leave or whatnot because that's the protocol. Now, Eric, he's trying to water it down and all of that. But they're right. This has happened in churches for decades. It's just now we're in the era of social media. And this is why you have a lot of pastors that are calling for cameras to be out of the church. I've heard Bishop Corletta Vaughn say the same thing about not having cameras in the church. And I think that's why, because they don't want the world to scrutinize or try to analyze the way that they do their church. That's kind of what it is, because then you got these viral moments. So my grandmother used to send Reverend Ike all her change through the mail. A lot of people did it. Desperate times call for desperate. I've seen people that bought the water when their kids were like in trial. They bought the holy water. They bought the holy towels. They bought all of that. You catch people at the vulnerable moments and they're willing to give whatever they have. That's just what it is. So that's all. That's my synopsis. I might see if my dad wants to talk about it on his platform. It'll be interesting. But it's been wrong for decades too. That's from Gwen. It was a lot of stuff that was wrong. We just did a lot of stuff was repetitive. We just took on like a relay race. What the generation before us did, we just took on and did it too. And we didn't challenge anything. We were taught not to question or to challenge our pastors. LeBron's uniform said, nah, he didn't want them to leave until they gave. You're right. He said, if you acknowledge the word, you're obligated to sow. Okay, Bien. Like When has the word of God ever been for sale? You don't have to manipulate people to give. I agree. I believe if some of these pastors actually knew the principles behind it, they wouldn't even have to manipulate people to give. They would just want to do it. That's the problem. So Dev said the Spirit is telling him that 300 people in this chat need to sow a seed of $12. Move quickly. Move quickly. He didn't say anything about security. He said you would spend the money at a restaurant. What happens if... No, he said this was his statement. Okay, he did do a statement. So I can be clear on what he said, recently a clip has gone viral of me challenging 2,000 individuals virtually and in person to plant a seed of $20 during an international gathering held at a convention center with over 4,000 people in attendance that evening, plus virtual viewers. In that same moment, I also challenged leadership to lead by example by sowing $100 that evening. I personally gave much more. So he want to let y'all know he gave much more, because I told you that's what he did to me. Well, it wasn't to me. It was to the whole church. It wasn't me personally. I was just there. When he was like talking about, I give 50%, and then he pulled the money out of his pocket and gave the money first. So he does it to make it look like, well, I'm not just telling you, I do also what I'm telling you to do. But everybody ain't got Marvin Sapp money. Everybody ain't recording artists. Everybody ain't got schools, because he got a school. He got the salons. He got property. Every time you see him, he's signing on a new property or something, or he at the real estate office signing some papers. All right. Some have taken issue with a particular moment when I instructed the ushers rather firmly. He said just rather firmly. Thank you, Tony, for the memberships. I appreciate that. To close the doors during the offering. To those unfamiliar with the church context or who may not regularly attend worship gatherings, this has been misinterpreted as holding people hostage as well as offensive. That was never my intent. The truth is, when finances are being received in any worship gathering, it is one of the most vulnerable and exposed times for both the finance and security team. Movement during the sacred exchange can be distracting and at times even risky. My directive was not about control. It was about creating a safe, focused, and reverent environment for those choosing to give and for those handling the resources. And that's the part that I don't agree with, because I've walked around in many churches. You're singing hype music. Everybody say blessed, blessed, blessed. You singing like some hype music. The organ is going, and you walking around. And while you're walking, you hugging First Lady, and you hugging everybody on the front row. And you, hey, Sister Brown, I ain't seen you in a minute. That's the most socializing time that they have. So for him to say like, oh, it's the risky time and we got to keep, like, that has never been a time where it's like, everyone be silent. Everyone be silent. Close the doors. We want to have all security looking at all 4 points. Is the pastor being covered? Is the musician being covered? That's not how it typically goes. So sounds like, okay. Unfortunately, in this social media age, snippets are easily shared without context, and assumptions are quickly made without understanding the full picture. Conferences have budgets, churches have budgets, and people have budgets. As the assigned minstrel gift for this international gathering, one of my responsibilities was to help raise the conference budget. That's not manipulation, it's stewardship. No, they had you raise the budget. Part of your reasoning why they had him raise the budget is because he's good at it. That's why. And he's Marvin Sapp. And who's not going to listen to Marvin Sapp? That's why they had you raise it. But okay. Now allow me to give you some biblical context. So then you know they got to throw Bible in there. not opinion, not tradition, but scripture. So he gives us 1 Chronicles 29, which says, we find a powerful moment when David, preparing for the building of the temple, challenges the people to give. He starts by giving of his own treasure over and above what he had already set aside. Then he calls on the leaders to do the same. What happened next? The people gave willingly. I think he forgot that part. Generously. In fact, they gave so much that a record was kept of each gift, and ultimately David had to tell the people to stop giving because the need had been exceeded. The Bible says they gave gold, silver, bronze, iron, and precious stones. Specific amounts were recorded, not because God needed their money, but because the people needed to show their commitment to the vision and because stewardship demands accountability. So when someone challenges people to give a specific amount, it is not unbiblical. I'm not seeing the correlation, but okay. It is not manipulation. It is in order. It is consistent with scripture. So yes, you saw a moment, but invite you to understand the movement behind it. I felt it was necessary to provide context to this clip, and I hope you'll share this explanation with the same passion and speed that the original clip was shared. Honor, clarity, and truth are what I owe the people, and I always provide just that. So there's that. So that's that. You said, what would Jesus do? I'm thinking he'd slow his scraping and scamming down the lot, maybe find a different Mark. Oops, I meant Market. Get married again and start over, not tailor-made 100. Andrew said he was scared his necklace would get snatched and his collar would be unbuttoned while they made him lie on the floor and point at his A-month. You know what? Andrew?
You's a clown, that's what you. Why don't you call me a cardboard bishop now? Huh? You tough? Call me a cardboard bishop now.
He's not gonna call you that.
Huh? Look on Facebook Live. Call me a cardboard bishop now. You clown. That's what you are. You clown. That's what you are. Why don't you say what you say on Facebook Live, sucker?
No.
All right, we're done for the day. I think so. I think we're done for the day. Thank you so much, Lady 747. I appreciate that. If you just got here, make sure you hit the rewind button. We talked about a whole lot, but in the beginning, we did talk about Nesto, which, you know, I'll eventually do some type of a thumbnail or something. Favorite clip of all time. It never gets old. Never gets old. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for coming in and spending your lunch here. Subscribe to the channel. Yeah, so we even talked about Marvin Sapp too. He ain't got nothing to do with the law. I guess the laws of the church. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question to get my perspective on it. Thank you, Ms. Lady. I appreciate that. And hopefully this weekend I'll get another video. We'll go live again in the membership. So until then, though, I want you all to have a fantastic day. And I'm going to holler at you next time.